Hello, hello. I am Karen Jean-François, and this is the Women in Data podcast. I remember in the first 5 to 8 years of my career, I was convinced that progression meant going in the management track. And over the year, I realized that it's not really the case. And I've also met so many disillusioned managers who realized that being a manager was not exactly what they thought it would be. They really preferred the technical side of the job. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people who feel trapped in the wrong roles because they fear that moving back to the technical track would be a step back. And we're here today with Niruta Talwekar to redefine progression and offer an alternative. And obviously, there are loads of alternatives, but Niruta is going to be talking about the technical path that she chose as a data engineer. If you have not done so yet, make sure you register to the Women in Data community. It's free. All you need to do is head to womenindata.co.uk. All right, let's get straight to it. Hey, Niruta.
Hey, Karen.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I am excited to be having this conversation. I remember doing a few episodes around leadership and all these things. And my neighbor, who is an AI researcher, so she works with LLMs, and she was telling me, so do you think that progression really means going down the leadership route? And I was just like, no. And she said, but that's all you talk about. And I'm thinking, yeah, because that's the one I chose to go to. And I'm so glad that we met, Niruta. So you can actually rectify this problem and then talk about what else is available out there.
Yeah, sure. I would be delighted to. First of all, thank you so much for having me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Niruta. I'm a data engineer and I have over 13 years of industry experience. I've started with building scalable data solutions and now more recently, I'm also working with AI. So a lot of people around us doing the same thing. Just a recent highlight, I'm also recognized as an IEEE senior member for my contribution to the profession, which I'm really proud of. So I'm sharing it here.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you brought up a really good point. Like many other engineering graduates, I also began my career just starting as a software engineer. But I was introduced to Hadoop when it was at its peak right in 2012. And that just led me to the data engineering career. I feel very satisfied when it comes to learning new technologies and implementing, new code and just being the forehead of ongoing evaluation of the tech. I think this is the main reason that I chose to stay technical.
So it's all the excitement around, what's coming up and then all the things you can be doing with the technical stuff.
That's correct. Yes. I did actually at point explored the management path. So I was promoted to a technical manager role and had 3 direct reports. The whole experience made me realize my passion lies more in technology. I do actively mentor. I generally mentor students and early career women in technology, mostly through a lot of free communities like Rewrite the Code. I enjoy connecting to people through communities, but I think looking ahead, I see myself deepening my technical skills, my technical expertise, and advancing in my career in the technical leadership path itself.
So 13 years in a technical role minus sometimes managing 3 people, and then you think really the future for me is in the technical roles.
Yes.
And I love that, when you're talking about mentoring, one thing that I find we have in common, it's this passion to help people get to where they want to be. And I find, sometimes as a manager, this is a big part of the role as well. So you still have some of that. It's just you manage to find a way that helps you grow people without actually having direct reports, and you're focusing on the thing you like at work.
Yeah, that's correct. The thing with the management role, which brought me back to doing technical thing, was first of all, times away from the hands-on work. Managing people required a lot of submitting performance reviews and a little bit of administrative tasks too, which left me less time for coding and technical problem solving. And then it was more focused on process over solution. And I find my joy in finding solutions. So it eventually led me back to the technical things. And it just gave me like more control over the technical direction in general. I think when we talk about the technical path, unfortunately, it's not one straight line. Like early in my career, I was doing lots of hands on coding. I wrote scripts and fixed bugs. I was focused on solving like more one specific problem. But as I grew, the work shifted. It became less about like just writing codes. It was more about designing systems and thinking about how the sustainability, the scalability of the particular solution. Like at a junior level, the expectation is just execution. You're giving a task, you're given a tools, you write a clean code and just understand that how the things fit together and just execute the code. At mid level, we start taking ownership, right? You're just not solving tasks, you're also solving problems and then trying to define the trade-offs for that particular solutions. When you move into the senior position, it's mostly more about the influence. You mentor others, you set best practices, and the work starts shaping not just your work, but also your team. So you define team level scopes. Well, the next step is obviously staff level. So when you go to the staff level, the lens get wider. Now you're just not aligning yourself within the team, but you're aligning yourself across the team. So driving like architectural decisions and just trying to become a go-to person for any complex problem solving. That's like staff. The later part, which is more regarded as leadership, technical leadership positions, are like principal and distinguished level, where the vision itself get very broad. So it's all about the vision actually. So you're defining the long term directions, you're making calls that impact business. So it's direct in business impact driven leadership role. It's just
That's very interesting because you know how you're talking about principle and distinguished. I had stopped at principle. I hadn't realized there was another level. And it's quite interesting because so what you're describing is so the first three stages. So when we're talking about early careers, mid-level, senior levels, we're all very familiar with these ones. And then it's after that it starts changing. And I'm guessing the senior level is where people start wondering, okay, my next step, is it going into management or am I staying technical? And when I started my career and when I was at that stage where I was thinking, okay, where am I going? I don't remember having this option. So it's very interesting that today we actually have the staff level. And well, I say today, it's been a few years now that it exists, but when I was a senior, if I wanted to stay technical, it was you have to go and do some contracting. So now it's really good that we have other actually career paths that are getting more and more democratized that people can go towards.
Yeah, like I did notice that. I think it's just the responsibilities as you progress through this career ladder, it just grows faster than the titles itself. Like if you think of a progression in technical path, it feels more like a funnel. So just an example, like at bottom, there are like so many entry level engineers, but as you move up, the role just starts narrowing down. Like for example, in most tech companies, you will find like hundreds of engineers at junior and mid levels. But a recent study shows that only 1 in 5 make it to the senior level and 1 in 20 make it to staff, while only handful, just a handful goes to principal level and above.
So, okay, these stats are super interesting. Thank you so much for sharing them. I hadn't realized, so when we're talking about senior, I hadn't realized that there were so few that were making it to the senior level. And, the funnel exists in every career path, I guess. But one thing I keep wondering is where these people go, because it's not like my career path is data analytics. So yours, you went to software engineers and data engineering, but it's not like you find a mid-level data engineer that's 50 years old, unless they've changed careers, I guess. So surely they went somewhere. I don't know what happened.
So it's all about passion and where you try to where you find your comfort. I have met people who are like the elder people, but they are still doing engineering role, but staying at senior level. It's just like they don't want to take the further responsibilities.
Okay.
But when I was doing research on this, there's one thing that stood out to me is 50% of women do drop off their career at mid levels. There are several contributing factors for that. One significant factor is lack of career advancement and sponsorship opportunities. Like, for example, about 86 women get promoted for every 100 men, which is quite discouraging. Other factors also contribute, just like burnout, work-life balance, toxic and non-inclusive cultures. That's like something that we as women face a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think on my side, so this is something I see a lot. Women reaching a point and then wondering, is this what I want to be doing? And then I myself faced this issue where I think I was maybe 6, 7 years in my career and thinking, is data where I want to be really? Is that what it is that I want to be doing for the rest of my life? And it's really difficult when you're in this position. And I guess now things are changing a bit and we're seeing a lot more diversity in the team, but both you and I are women of color. And
Yeah.
then I was the only one in my team, and it was very intimidating. And then you're thinking, I think very differently from other people. And you look around and you're thinking, is there a space for me? Can I actually be me? And for me, being authentic is very, very important
Yeah.
in the space. So that on top of the other stats that you gave is quite big.
Yeah. Moving up gets harder for like several reasons. It's just the expectations shift dramatically. It's more about like vision and influence, as I earlier mentioned. And the second thing that you brought up was really important is like the models you see at this career role are not actually very visible. You would see there's a lot of recognition out there for C-suite, but there are very less recognition out there for the people who are doing technical leadership for principal, staff, and distinguished level. It's harder to imagine yourself in a role when you don't see so many people who look like you in that position. And the recognition it's missing. I think that's one of my tip for everyone out there is look for mentors and sponsorship. You can definitely find mentors for your guidance, but sponsor are the people who would help you when you are not in your room. So they'll sponsor and elevate you.
Niruta, I would like to go back to your point around the visibility of role models. So we're all talking about not enough role model for women out there, but then you're bringing a point that even on top of that, we're getting role models on the C-suite. So the ones that decide, okay, I'm going to go on the leadership path. And you're saying we're not seeing on the technical side. Why do you think that is? So I know there are more and more bloggers out there. So you find them on blogs, they're talking on the communities and all these things. But it's true that it's not often you find them at conferences or talking on podcasts or all these things.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare. It's just unfortunately how the industry is set up right now. It's like you get more visibility when you are in the more managing leadership role. And the second thing that do contribute, which I think is very personal to me probably, is I find the people who stay technical can be a little bit shy on the outside. Um, so there are extroverts and introverts. So the people who are introverts who are really good at what they do, but probably not as good as, being visible outside can be very easily be unseen, but they are doing some impactful role. I have been raising this question with a lot of people around me is like, why are there no recognition out there for people who are doing principal stuff? Technical leadership should be something that should be
Yeah.
realized apart from the manager relationships.
Yeah, it should be encouraged as well because
Yes.
it's very important. I'm thinking when you go towards the management route, then the fact that you're not as technical as you used to be, the support provided to your team might be, depends on the cases, but you won't understand fully all the problems like you would understand as a technical leader.
Yeah,
So definitely having one in the team is super, super important.
I agree.
Yeah. So how do you then go? So you mentioned the fact that, people should seek mentors and they should seek sponsors, which is something I spoke about with Cecilia on the podcast. I think it was a couple of episodes ago. But yeah, do you have any other advice or ideas on how people can overcome all the barriers they are facing going on the technical path?
Yeah. So technical path might not just about climbing the ladder because the responsibilities generally come before the recognition, unfortunately, in the technical leadership. So it's more about like deepening your expertise, broadening your impact, and even and help that to actually shape your career. One thing I would say is keep learning and stay hands on. Technology evolves fast. So staying curious and getting hands on with the new technology will keep you and your skill relevant.
Do you have any advice on how to do that without being fully overwhelmed?
Oh,
Because I'm fully aware that people out there, they're working, life is stressful sometimes, and we tend to want to learn everything and be sponges, but then it
yeah.
can get overwhelming.
The thing that I do is I involve myself in a lot of communities and conferences. My go to hands on practice is contributing to the hackathon, which is fun. You learn new thing, you build new thing, and you also get the visibility. So that's and then there are companies do provide some leeway for us to attend these conferences. So I think that's really important because that will help you stay current at this point with everything that's going on in life. It's just not possible to do all the research by yourself. It's good to
Yeah.
depend on people who have done their researches and just like listen to them. The other tips that I would say is focus on measurable impact. So track your way in a track your work in a way that shows tangible results. Like as you move up the ladder, it's very important to showcase your work in terms of business impact. So and then promotions are like often follows a visible outcomes. So it's necessary for us to make sure that whatever work you're doing, it can be quantifiable and then you're able to portray it really well. And then give yourself a good pat on your back for doing the good work. Just be your own cheerleader. And the last thing I think I keep coming back to this is embrace mentorship and teaching. So for all the love that you've got, feel free to give it back to the community. So mentors other is the fastest way to go as a technical leader because now you're more aware of what others are learning. It sharpens your thinking and it also expands your influence. So I think I would definitely say to embrace mentorship and teaching together. I think the best way to learn is through mentorship because like you're not just giving somebody else guidance, you're also learning back from them. And these are like the future of our countries, future of our technical societies. So good to be in contact with what's happening out there. The one last tip that I want to share with the next generation of engineers is to seek recognition. Just apply for memberships, awards, and like speaking opportunities. They would create the credibility that can be like self declarative, and it will also help bring about the visibility in this technical leadership roles.
I love that. And that's definitely, helping yourself while you're also helping others. So that's perfect. So I've got 5 questions for you to close this episode. I'm very excited about them. I know I keep saying I'm excited, but I am excited. uh, because they're a bit different from the usual questions I have. So we tend to change the questions a bit, but yours are very tailored to the space you've chosen to be in, because I find it so fascinating and it's such an empowering thing to do and to give other people. It's like there is an alternative. You don't have to be stuck in the career that people think you should be doing. And then this is very important. So the first one is, what is one technical concept that you wish more people understood?
So this is very catered to me being a data engineer. And I would say the technical concept that everyone should learn is data lineage. So understanding how data flows throughout the system is very critical and it will help you build like reliable pipelines and ensuring like accurate insights are brought in front.
If only it was always available.
Yes. Well, that's your one thing to create a business impact.
There
Like,
you go.
yeah, go back to your work and see if there is a lineage, and then showcase it. It will definitely bring you to a point where everyone will start seeing you as a leader.
Love that. What's your favorite debugging ritual?
Oh, I could just say restart your computer. That would be so good. But joke aside, I think I always try to narrow down where the problem is, because as a data engineer, we deal with very long pipelines, data pipelines, and the data is generally very raw that we work with. So it's just like reproducing the environment and trying to isolate the component step by step actually helps really faster to pinpoint the root cause. And the next thing I would say is where people often look that you need to train yourself to find actual value in the logs that are produced. So whenever there's debugging required, there are like so many logs. We have to learn this skill to reduce the noise in all this logger and try to
Mm,
pinpoint where actually the issue lies. Um,
that's super
so
interesting. I'm glad there are data engineers like you that exist out there because I would definitely go crazy and not be able to do that. Is if every time I see a log with bugs and all these things, I just want to throw the laptop through the window.
yeah, it can be overwhelming. That's why like trying to reduce the noise through the logs are like it's a skill.
What is the one book or one resource every data engineer should know about?
My favorite is Designing Data Intensive Applications. It's by Martin Keppelman. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. But it's really a practical guide. It has like all the practical do's and don'ts for building like scalable and very reliable data systems. So that's my go-to book.
Okay. I would
Yeah.
definitely put that in the show notes. I'm saying that I need to remember. What is the best career advice you've received?
So this was from my early days when I myself was seeking mentorship. So one of my mentors said to me is advancing in career, especially for the women, is not about how you see yourself, but it's more about how you make others see yourself. There's a lot of difference in this too. It's like how you portray yourself for others to perceive is really important. It's okay to feel a little bit disoriented sometimes, but you can always go past it and make sure that the end result is something that actually matters. It's okay to do mistakes. Like with 13 years of experience, I still do mistakes, but I have learned how to own up to it and make amends. I remember to accept it. So that helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, making mistakes is how we learn, anyways.
Yes. We as women, we generally, first thing we see in ourselves are a lot of faults, unfortunately, but we are way more than that. So it's definitely how we portray ourselves is really important to
Yeah,
others.
that's very true. And I love what you said about it's how you make others see yourself. Because if you're not intentional about how you want people to see you, then gosh knows what's going to happen, what they're going to see. And then you definitely want to be able to dictate
Mhm.
that narrative. My last question for you is, what is the most underrated skills in technical leadership?
I would say patience. Like from all our conversation, the one thing that was pretty apparent was like, again, there is a lag in recognition. So the patience is really important. Just because you stay in one position for a little bit longer doesn't mean that your career is halted, doesn't mean that you're not progressing. There is always a progress. Uh, a little bit like I read somewhere that it takes like minimum of 3 to 5 years for a mid-level engineer to actually move to the senior, which might probably see a lot, but you are progressing. So keep some patience, trust in the skill and the people around you. And I think you may not get all the answers in your first try, but just keep learning.
Yeah, I want to say on that, when you say it, I'm thinking, oh yeah, that sounds a long time. But then in the grand scheme of things, we have many, many years, hopefully, on the planet. You don't want to reach the top too early, because what are you going to be doing after otherwise?
That's true. Yeah, it's all about the journey.
All right. Thank you so much, Niruta, for joining me on the podcast. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Karen, for having me. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to voice, and I'm going to remember this forever.
Thank you for listening to the Women in Data podcast.
We will be back in a couple of weeks. Until then, we would be very grateful if you could leave us a rating or a review, as it helps us not only to make the podcast more visible, but also to enhance the content.
And if you don't want to miss the next episode, follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're also on LinkedIn.
Don't forget to register to the Women in Data community. It's free. All you need to do is head to womenindata.co.uk.
Have a great day!